The Cleveland Cavaliers have 3 players currently signed to two-way contracts: Emoni Bates, Travers, and JT Thor. As of right now, Cleveland has 13 roster players. They must sign a 14th in the next week or so to be able to meet the NBA's requirement of 14. That will leave 1 roster spot open, a spot that has generally been reserved for converting a two-way player. And over the years, we have seen the likes of Lamar Stevens, Dean Wade, and Craig Porter Jr. converted. Of this current group of two-ways, who makes the most sense to convert right now? Bates, Travers, or Thor? Let's discuss that. But before we do your boy a favor and smash that like button, subscribe to keep the Cavs coverage coming, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a beat. Alrighty, let's dive in. So when it all boils down to it, none of these dudes should and likely will be counted on to supply the Cavs with minutes during a playoff run. Let's get that out of the way. That said, have any of them shown that they have what it takes to add, or at the very least contribute to the main roster right now? I think you might actually be able to argue such for at least 1, and quite honestly, maybe even 2. Let us begin with perhaps who I perceive to be the least ready of all 3, and that, as much as it pains me to say it, is Emoni Bates. Emoni Bates had a relatively uneventful rookie campaign. He gave fans, including myself, something to ooh and ah about with his showing at the 2023-24 NBA Summer League, where he put up 17.2 points per game and shot 40% from three-point range and helped Cleveland win the Summer League title. But at the NBA level, he suited up for just 15 games, many of which were blowouts. He failed to score in double figures. He shot a paltry 30.6% from the floor, including 30.3% from distance, and he looked really raw on the defensive end. He was clearly not ready and looked the part. That said, he did manage to captivate at times while suiting up for the Cleveland Charge, the Cavs G League affiliate. Yet more than a few memorable performances, including his detonation against the Santa Cruz Warriors, where he drilled 8 triples and was nearly unstoppable as a scorer. It was clear that he could score on high volume, and the stats bore that out. In 27 total appearances for the Charge last year, he averaged 21.6 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.9 assists. But Emoni shot a very inefficient 41.4% from the field. He did manage to shoot a respectable 37.1% from beyond the arc, but it came on insane volume, 10.5 three-point attempts per game. And for context, there were only 3 players in the G League all of last season attempting at least 10. Bates would not be given that type of free reign and volume with the Cavs. He would need to continue honing his off-ball skills while simultaneously adding weight to a slight frame. And so he wasn't converted last year. But credit where credit is due, this offseason Bates worked his ass off to add 35 pounds of muscle, and you can legitimately tell the difference. And while he didn't evoke these same types of reactions he got the first time in his second Summer League appearance, he certainly looked to be trending in the right direction. But then it was announced by Bates himself that he had undergone surgery to repair a tear in his meniscus, sidelining him for nearly the first 2 months of the season. He made his Charge debut back on December 14th and has slowly been trying to regain form. Through 13 appearances, he's proven that he's clearly a capable scorer, but is still struggling with efficiency as he is completing just 36.1% of his field goals, including 30.6% from range. It hasn't been any better at the NBA level with the Cavs either, where he's seen the court for just 7 total games and averaging 0.9 points on, I kid you not, 14.3% from the field. He ain't ready. There really isn't any rationale you can make for it in my eyes. Let's move on. Travers. Ladies and gentlemen, this one is very tough because honestly, I believe Travers is a lot closer to being able to contribute at the next level than others do. And had it not been for an ankle injury that has limited his availability this season, he might have had even more of a case than I believe he does currently. And if you've listened to me discuss Travers before, you probably know how I feel about him. To me, he has potential NBA glue guy written all over him. He's a quality rebounder, he's got true wing size, he's an underrated defender, and he's a high-level facilitator. All qualities that tend to look better with more talent around than what he had been surrounded with in his years overseas playing for various teams in the NBL. One watch of Travers' tape will show you that he's been a very solid finisher around the rim this season and has no qualms about putting pressure on defenses with dribble drives. He can force his way inside and draw contact while doing so. And the crazy thing is, he isn't the quickest. He doesn't really have that burst that you see from many wings his size and isn't some Kyrie-esque wizard with the ball in his hands either. He's just a crafty ball handler who's deceptively athletic. Just watch him attack closeouts and you'll see exactly what I mean. The biggest thing holding Travers back from making an NBA roster is the lack of a reliable three-point shot. That's really it. Kind of always has been. Across 7 total appearances for the Charge this season, Travers is shooting just 31.8% from three-point distance on roughly 3.1 attempts per game. It's not the worst you've ever seen, just not yet reliable. Still, he's putting up an insane stat line as he's averaging 20.6 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1.4 blocks while shooting 56.8% from the field overall. And maybe what I'm saying is lost on you, so I'll spell it out. Travers is not a reliable three-point marksman yet, but he's been insanely efficient inside of the three-point line. He has attempted a grand total of 95 shots this season. 22 of those have been triples, so the remaining 73 are two-point field goals, and of those two-point field goals, he's converted 47. That is 64.4%, ladies and gentlemen. That is highly efficient. He can clearly do most everything else. The question is, can he truly be effective at the next level without a solidified shot? And I honestly think the answer is closer to yes. Jalen Tyson and Craig Porter Jr. are sort of proving that right now. And although Tyson's shot has started to come around as of late, it didn't start off that way. And Travers appears more versatile than both. Now, in the spirit of transparency, Travers hasn't done much with his minutes with the Cavs, and I ultimately do not believe he is ready for rotation minutes. But considering that he's only appeared in 8 games for a grand total of 51 minutes, I won't hold it against him. I think you could certainly make the case that Travers has a pretty strong case to be the one converted, but sometimes it's not always about being able to contribute right now. Sometimes it simply boils down to roster need. And in that regard, the player who might actually have the strongest case may in fact be JT Thor. Look, of all the 2 ways to step foot on the court this season for the Cavs, JT Thor has probably been the most productive, but that ain't really saying that much, is it? I mean, in 9 total appearances, Thor is averaging 3.1 points and shooting 60% from the field, including 50% from three-point range. That's obviously a super small sample size, and a lot of it has come in garbage time, so it's very hard to make a determination off of that alone, I suppose. That said, there are multiple things that could possibly work in his favor. Number 1, his size. JT is listed around 6'10" in most places and can realistically give you minutes at both 4 and the 5, and at the most optimistic of levels at all 3 front court positions. He's technically done that with the Cavs this season, having spent time at all 3 thus far. Having the size and positional versatility that he theoretically has works in his favor because, as we all know, they do not have a true third big right now. They're going to be relying on some combination of Dean Wade, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, and Isaac Okoro to man the 4, and at center, it's really just Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, and Tristan Thompson. So having yet another player who can line up at those spots could be valuable down the stretch in terms of both getting the main roster pieces rest and for injury insurance purposes as well. We've seen that play out year after year for this team. And while fans are praying that this is the year that isn't going to be the case as the playoffs draw near, having another option never hurt anybody. But let me be clear, this isn't the only reason why he should be in consideration. Thor has legitimately been having a solid season with the Cleveland Charge. In 20 total appearances, he is averaging 15.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1.8 blocks while shooting 44.3% from the field. Thor has always tantalized with a budding three-point shot, but hasn't done so efficiently enough to inspire confidence just yet. That said, he's clearly shown to be a reliable source of offense, rim protection, and rebounding. And at the next level, all he would likely be counted on to provide is the latter too. Defend the rim and get to work on the glass when and if you are called on, and you've mostly done your job. That's really it. Now, it should be noted that he's been sidelined with a concussion as of late, but should be available real soon. He could technically fill the team's need for a third big, but I do recognize that this probably depends on how you view him positionally and whether or not the team would want to fill the third big spot with a more known commodity. In conclusion, I feel this is really just a two-man race, and it's got to be either Travers or Thor. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And as always, go Cavs.